There are three major mysteries in Genshin Impact. When and how did Kaveh die? Will a burning DPS ever be released? And will Emilie envelop the world in a haze of burning death and destruction caused by her nuclear lamp? Well, Emilie is here, and she will answer all of those questions. Since Kaveh has ceased to exist in any raid-up banner on Genshin or in the world of Teyvat, period, he has cosplayed and transformed into a sexier, cooler, and stronger version of himself, and that is Emilie, the Dendro burning DPS that we've been waiting for. But will she actually make burning good? I'm Void Enigma, and I'll be explaining everything about Emilia. Emilie. I love Emilia. Emilie is a star for the Burning-centered team, and she really makes a brand new archetype that was barely alive finally thrive. We all know how Hoyo loves playing Future Impact, and the new artifact set introduced in 4.6 finally makes sense. So think of Emilie as Dendroficial, because that's literally what she is. She is a polearm user, and she will summon her stationary lamp that will fire off Dendro attacks on nearby enemies. After about 4 seconds, the lamp will actually produce some scents, or seeds is what I like to call them, and absorb them, further powering up her elemental skill to be at level 2. This will last a whopping 22 seconds with a cooldown of 14 seconds. The only downside is that it's stationary and cannot be moved once used. The range is pretty big, however, that's where her burst comes into play to actually rectify that. She will reposition the lamp to her position and make it go into overdrive. The lamp will power up to level 3, and that will cause a rapid onslaught of Dendro Fury for about 3 seconds. It also has a nice energy cost of 50 and does a fair bit of damage. After it's used, the lamp will either be recreated or repositioned to your location, and the duration will be refreshed. Her passives are what make her an archetype on her own, because all party members will receive 85% less damage from burn, so there's no more fear of burning yourself to death. And in addition, whenever her lamps gathers 2 of the scents, it will release an area of effect Dendro Bomb, based on 600% of her attack. Her kit is really fire. And to make burn work, you want rapid Dendro application. You only need 1 instance of Pyro, and you could technically keep the burning going forever as long as you're applying more Dendro. This opens up opportunities for burn melt, overburn, or just empowering the current Pyro and Dendro characters. The biggest upside to this is her passive, that lets characters take less damage from burn. The reason why burning wasn't that great before was because not only did it do poor damage against single targets, if they're not grouped up, it also did poor damage. And when you actually do group them up with characters like Kazuha, then you'll end up killing yourself from the burn. One example, of course, is Kazuha Venti burn team with Nahida, which is pretty nice, but every now and then when you use Kazuha's E to pull the enemies in for them to share in their burn, yeah, Kazuha doesn't survive. Characters like Dia, however, were excellent options for burn because Dia's damage is spread out over time, and she has a ton of HP to soak up some of the burn damage. She could take some burn damage and be fine for the most part. Because of this passive, does this mean that Pyro characters will outshine Dia's unique place in the meta now? Well, let's talk about that in the team section. If you made it this far, you must have liked this video, yeah? Go ahead and leave a like to burn this video into the YouTube algorithm so that I can continue to make great videos for you all. Now, let's talk about Emilie's artifact options, and why Reverie set is a great option. There are 2 ways to build her, however, and that is with pure damage being attack, Dendro damage, and crit, or EM. 9 times out of 10 though, you'll want to build her with the traditional attack, Dendro, and crit. The main focus is to use burn to enhance her damage, not use burn as a reaction, so she comes out significantly ahead by building for attack rather than EM. But if you still run her with a full EM team to maximize her burn damage, you'll still do just fine. You can go hybrid, but I still wouldn't recommend doing that. Focus on one or the other, but hey, you can still test it out and see if you like either or. In addition to the Reverie, she can also use the Deepwood set, and it's just as powerful. The thing is though, another Dendro character on her team can also utilize that set, like Nahida, and that will make Reverie even more powerful on Emilie. That's the reason why Reverie is better in most cases, but you won't always actually be able to use both Nahida and Emilie on the same team, so just keep that in mind. Overall, for her personal damage though, Reverie is still the best. But always prioritize substats over set bonuses. Alright, let's go over weapons because she has quite a few options. Her signature weapon is great, but in my opinion, it's not required. The best part about this weapon is that it makes her energy requirements nearly zero in every team. While it's a significant boost to her personal damage, she isn't doing the majority of damage on her team, so it's not really a requirement. Other than that, she can use almost any spear. Literally, she has so many options since her damage comes from attack, and EM never hurts as it increases her burn damage overall. Some honorable mentions for the 5-star spears are the Calamity Queller and Staff of Homa. As for the best 4-star options, that's going to be Deathmatch and the Missive Wind Spear. Since she has so many options, just comment down below if you have any questions and I'll let you know which weapons work for her. Now the fun part, teams. You can run her as a solo Dendro unit, or you can run her with another Dendro character, like NieR. Sadly, Ether won't work in this team, as the burns will just blow up his burst and won't let it do continuous damage or even apply more Dendro. Yao Yao can be the healer in this team as well, but NieR will offer much more damage and make it so that the burning damage won't tickle the enemies if your team isn't built for EM, thanks to her burst, amplifying EM. As for Pyro units, there are a few options, those being Arlecchino, Dia, Klee, and Zhengling. Dia and Arlecchino will be much more durable than the other options, while Zhengling, well, Zhengling simply just is. And Klee will be able to do some pretty good numbers with this team as well. At the bare minimum, you want one Pyro and Emilie to use in the burn team. Then you can go pick characters depending on the content that you're up against. In area of effect situations, someone like Kazuhara Venti will help spread the burn, and when they trigger Swirl, then the burn will actually take their EM into account, making the burn more powerful, although Emilie still might overtake it. We'll have to really play around when she gets released to see just who is going to be triggering most of the burn, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be shared amongst all the characters, changing with every reaction. The thing with Animo characters though is that they're actually going to buff the Pyro character's damage and keep the enemies grouped up. If you want to use NieR in the last slot, then you can actually give her Prototype Amber to keep the team alive, as well as using a character who can self-heal, such as Dia or Arlecchino. Now in other scenarios, you can go with the traditional Zhengling Bennett comp. Like, when is Zhengling and Bennett just not good for every team? Like, it's kind of getting ridiculous at this point. In this case, you can run another Dendro character as the carry, like Alhaitham or Nahida, or just any other Pyro carry. Some other cool and unique team options are Burn Melt, Overburn, and Burgeon. For Overburn, you will utilize Dendro and Pyro to trigger both Burn and Overload while keeping some Quicken Aura. I'm not too familiar with this setup, but it can have some very good results. A sample team is something like this with Cyno, where you'll be triggering Quicken, Burn, Overload, and everything together. It will be a team that can clear the Abyss, but Cyno has better options, so I'm not sure how viable it will be with other characters. Another fringe team that will see some light of day is Burgeon. Burning always happens when you're using Burgeon, at least for a few seconds, so be on the lookout for that. Toma and Dia will finally have a chance to show their true colors. She may also open up Burn Melt, which characters like Ayaka, Ganyu, and ReaLazy can take part of. I'm confident that she will work with Ganyu, Dia, Emilie, and Bennett, as the only thing slowing them down before was Nahida's slower Dendro application. In this team, I'm pretty sure that burning will be active at all times, and Ganyu should be able to proc both her burst and her charge attacks from Melt. If anything, maybe her burst won't be used, but we'll have to wait and see. As for Ayaka and ReaLazy, this will require some testing, but just keep that in mind. Her constellations are pretty straightforward overall, so let's talk about her fire constellations. Her C1 will increase the damage dealt by your skill's nuke by a tad bit, and it will allow her skill to reach level 2 faster, as any burn reaction or Dendro damage will grant an extra cent. This will let her fire off more of those 600% nukes much more quickly. Her C2 will shred Dendro resistance by 30% when her burst hits, or the same nuke fires off again. This will basically be a permanent damage up for Emilie and all other Dendro characters in the team. Her C4 will greatly improve her burst, making it last longer, and the intervals between the attacks will also be reduced. Her C6 will grant her a new buff whenever she uses her skill or burst. When this is active, she'll use her normal attacks or charge attacks. It will be converted to Dendro damage and do significant damage. This is going to be the C6 on the level of Yelan and Nahida and, who's the last one? Furina. Emilie really opens up a new avenue to burn the meta. She will be a powerful Dendro character that will create many teams. Since her off-field time is pretty long, she will literally be able to fit into so many teams seamlessly, not even burn teams. Potentially, she could be used in Aggravate and Quick Bloom teams if you don't have Nahida, but her potential will still be limited in those teams, however, it's an option. So far, we only have Nahida, Baiju, Ether, or Lumine, Yao Yao, Kale. Damn, we actually have a lot of off-field Dendro characters. Either way, Emilie isn't just tied to burn, but she greatly benefits from her. Now, do I recommend her for you? Well, no. After all, I love Emilia. You should really only pull for her if you like her design, since she doesn't really shine above any other characters, and burn as a reaction still leaves a hell of a lot to be desired. But if you like her kit, and you like the idea of burning down all of Teyvat, then she will be very fun for you.
Hello everyone, my name is Amber Aviles, and I voice Emilie, a famous
It was fucking Emilie the whole time? Isn't she If you made it this far, then I must have deserved the like at least, right? Go ahead and like this video, and for those of you pulling Emilie, best of luck. Until next time, Enigma out.